Pick up the can in front of you, feel the cold. The wall you're pressing with your thumb is thinner than a human hair. Thinner. And yet it is holding back more than 90 pounds of pressure per square inch without flinching. You drink from one of these almost every day. You have held thousands of them, and you have never once asked the only question that matters. Who made it? Not the soda, the can, the metal itself. Because the company that made it is one of the largest manufacturers on Earth, pulls in around $12 billion a year, and you cannot name it. You have never seen its logo. It has spent 140 years making sure of that. This is the story of the empire hiding in your hand. And it starts with $200 and a lie about what business they were even in. (1880) Buffalo, New York. 5 brothers named Ball borrowed $200 from their uncle. Today that is barely $7,000. With it, they buy a tiny factory that makes tin cans wrapped in wooden jackets, the kind used to ship kerosene and paint. There was a problem. The kerosene ate the tin from the inside. The cans corroded. The product failed. So the brothers did something quietly radical. They abandoned the very thing their company was named for. They stopped making cans and they started making glass jars. Then, in 1886, their Buffalo glass factory burned to the ground. Most companies do not survive that. The Ball brothers used it. A natural gas boom was lighting up Indiana, offering nearly free fuel for the furnaces that glass-making demanded. So, instead of rebuilding in Buffalo, they packed up and moved the whole operation to Muncie, Indiana. A fire that should have ended them became the reason they scaled. You know what they made there, the Ball Mason jar. For decades, that jar made them a household name. It sat in millions of American kitchens. It was the brand. And then they walked away from that too. Here's the pattern nobody notices about this company. It is willing to kill the exact product that made it famous the moment a bigger opportunity appears. The glass jar built the empire, so they sold the glass business entirely. Gone. Because they had seen what was coming next, and it was not glass. It was the thing in your hand. And to understand why that decision was worth billions, you have to see what it actually takes to make one. The aluminum drink can barely existed when they made that bet. Coors put beer in the first aluminum cans in 1959, and at first they were clumsy, heavy, and expensive. Most companies saw a novelty. Ball saw the future of packaging and started pouring everything into perfecting it. Here is what perfection looks like. It begins as a coil, a single ribbon of aluminum miles long, fed into a machine called a cupper. The cupper stamps out flat discs and presses them into shallow cups. It does this between 2,500 and 3,700 times per minute. That is not the impressive part. The cups travel to the body maker, where a steel punch rams each one through a series of rings, each ring slightly smaller than the last. The metal is squeezed, stretched, and ironed upward, the wall growing taller and thinner with every ring it passes through. This is called drawing and ironing, and it is where the magic happens. By the end, that wall is thinner than the hair on your head. The bottom is domed inward, a tiny architectural trick that lets a sheet of foil-thin metal survive the pressure of carbonated liquid trying to burst it open. Even the lid is its own engineering problem. It has to be stiffer and stronger than the walls, so it is made from a different aluminum alloy entirely, blended with more magnesium. The can you are holding is not one metal, it is two, each tuned for a different job. Then it is washed, printed, necked at the top, and capped. From raw coil to a finished, printed, palletized can? About 45 minutes, at a rate of up to 2,000 cans a minute on a single line. And they keep making it lighter. The average can has shed more than a third of its weight since the 1970s. Same strength, less metal, billions of cans, each one shaved down gram by gram, because at this scale a single gram saved is a fortune in aluminum. Now multiply that. More than 180 billion of these are made every year on Earth. That is over 20 cans for every single human being alive. And here is the part that should stop you. The can is so efficiently recycled that the one you throw away today can be melted, reformed, refilled, and back on a store shelf in about 60 days. Recycling it uses 95% less energy than making it new. This is the most perfected object in the modern economy. And one company figured out that whoever controlled the making of it would control something close to the whole world's drink supply. So it went to war to own it. "2015. Ball was already a giant. But there was another giant across the ocean, a British company called Rexam, the second biggest can maker on the planet. Ball made an offer, not for a factory, for the entire company. The price climbed to roughly $6 billion in cash and stock, plus billions more in debt it would swallow whole. If it went through, the combined company would make more than every can. It would control over 60% of the can market across North America, Europe, and Brazil. And that is exactly when the governments noticed. Regulators looked at the math and saw a problem. If Ball swallowed Rexam, there would be only 2 real independent can suppliers left standing in the United States. Just 2. The fear was simple. When only 2 companies are left, they do not even need to conspire to raise prices. The market does it for them, so the regulators drew a line. The deal could happen, but only if Ball gave pieces of itself away first. Ball was forced to sell off around $3.5 billion worth of factories before it was allowed to close. 7 Rexam plants in the US alone, handed to a rival, just to satisfy the watchdogs. Think about that. To get bigger, Ball had to hand working factories to its competition. It said yes anyway. That tells you exactly how valuable the prize was. In June 2016, the deal closed, and in that moment, Ball became the single largest manufacturer of beverage cans in the world. The brothers who once couldn't keep kerosene from rotting their tin cans now controlled the metal skin of the global drink. Today, Ball ships somewhere around 49 billion cans a year in North America alone. Roughly a third of the entire continent's supply runs through its lines. Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Red Bull, Anheuser-Busch. The biggest beverage names on Earth do not make their own cans. They buy them. And more often than not, they buy them from the company you couldn't name 90 seconds ago. Here is the lesson, the only one, and then we're done. The companies that win the modern economy are almost never the brands on the label. They are the invisible ones that make the thing the brand needs and make it so well that nobody bothers to look behind it. The can in your hand is a 140-year story of a family that survived a fire, killed its own famous products, mastered an object thinner than hair, and fought a government to own the right to make it. You just never read the byline. There are dozens of these empires. The company that makes the pallets every one of these cans is shipped on. The one that washes the uniforms the factory workers wear. Each one invisible, each one enormous. Subscribe and we'll keep pulling back the label. Because once you start seeing the hidden empires, you cannot stop.